Hi everybody, it's Nancy from Seaside Creativity. Thanks for stopping by my YouTube channel. Today I want to show you how I made this large matchbox. I've got a nice little Christmas theme going on, and I've also made one in a fall theme. Now usually when you see these type of matchboxes, they're about this size and they have this cute little pull-out tray and all. And whenever I see a box like this size, I'm always wondering, can I make that bigger? So I fooled around with the measurements and came up with this box. Now you will notice the difference here is my box here in Christmas is a little bit deeper here. It's not the thin tray here, and that was intentional on my part. If you do want something more in the way of a thin drawer, as I was doing and playing around with this these measurements, I did a couple of different ways of doing it and came up with this one. Now this one and this one use the exact same size paper. All I did with this one here is change up one of the punch guide measurements. So as we're going through, I'll explain to you the changes I made. And if you want to do something like this, you'll have the measurements for this one as well as this one. So we're going to get out our 1, 2, 3 punch board. And we're going to start with a piece of square paper, 11 5/8 inches, and you want to do something less than 12 inches because you'll need a full 12-inch piece of paper to wrap around your box. So your box needs to start with something a little shorter, smaller. So 11 5/8. And I will caution you, if you're doing a box this size, you really want to use your good cardstock for the tray because it needs to be a substantial weight to hold up to something this big. And of course, for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use some thin scrapbook paper, and frankly, it's the cheap stuff. So hopefully I won't tear the paper when I do my scoring, but there's a potential that that's going to happen. So you're going to start your paper at the 3-inch guide, and you're going to punch and score. You're going to turn it, go out to the 6-inch punch guide, punch and score, rotate again, go back to the 3-inch, punch and score, and then back to the 6-inch and punch and score. Now before we go any further, you can see we were alternating between the 3 and the 6-inch, and that'll give you a box with this depth. If you want a box shaped like this, instead of starting at the 3, you're going to start at the 4-inch and then alternate between 4 and 6. And that's the only change. Everything else stays the same. But that's what you'll need to do for something this size. Now, with our paper still in the punch guide, you see this score line right here. You're going to slide your paper over so that score line lines up with your left edge notch, because you're going to punch and score right along here. And you're going to rotate your paper, find your score line there, and once again, punch and score, rotate, find the score line, punch and score, and one more time, rotate, find the punch guide, punch and score. Now as you can see here, we have a wide end and we have the narrow ends, and we need to make one more punch to make this little notch. So take one of your narrow ends, fold it on your first score fold, put it in your punch guide, and you want to center it. And the best way to center it is your point here, just center that in this center piece right here. And it should be good. And you punch and you get that little notch. So we're done with the punch board. Now we're going to fold and burnish all of our score lines. And this is, like I said, thin paper, so there's not a lot of burnishing you have to do. Okay, now we have to cut some flaps, and you're going to go on the wide side. You're just going to cut a couple of flaps out here. And if you want to do the mitering, you can. I've done it both ways, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. And turn around to the other side. So you got your flaps here, and you're going to put adhesive on these flaps. Now, for a box this size, you really want to use some good heavy-duty adhesive because it's what's holding the box together. But I'm just going to do some quick and dirty adhesive for purposes of this demonstration. And then you're just going to fold in and line up the two edges like that. And then what I like to do is just put some adhesive, some glue, actually on these other flaps. That just gives a, just adds a little bit more stability to the box. Because you're going to fold these in like this, press down, press down in there. Now, you probably, at this point, would like to put in a piece of paper to make the inside look a little bit nicer. That's what I did here. It just kind of finishes everything off a little bit and hides any of these edges of the paper. And you can just measure in and figure out what size you need. Now, for the wraparound, what you need to do is get a full 12-inch piece of paper, but cut it down so that it matches the length of your box. And I won't go over the whole thing, but what I do is I usually place it open side down and kind of do one of these, mark it here and mark it here, and then kind of start folding things over, and then just making sure the box will fit in snugly but not too tight. And you would just put your adhesive right there, and it's going to fit just fine. Now that's what I did in this one. I just used some decorative paper around the edge of this one. On this particular box, I used red cardstock, and then I just added panels of patterned paper, so you can choose to do that way. I like it. It's a little bit more dressier that way, but either way, it's going to look lovely and have a nice box for your gifts. So I hope that this was informative to you. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you'll check out my other videos.